The things you're going to need to build a hanging bottle garden are your water bottles. I chose 5. Once you get too many more after that, they started to show a little bit of weakness in the water bottle. Some string to hang it by. I chose about, a foot long or so. You can adjust however long you want them to hang down. Some scissors, an X-Acto or craft knife, a sponge, and some potting soil and water. I chose to use the Miracle-Gro seed starting potting mix because I am starting all of my plants from seed. For the top of the hanging bottle garden, I have this one bottle that I cut in just about half there, and I ended up tying strings in 3 different locations with the lid with the hole punched in it so water can filter through it. This is the first bottle. The second, third, and fourth are going to be the same. It's the whole bottle here, but if you can see on this, it just has a section of it cut out, a little square there that your plant can grow out of. And this also is going to need the lid with the hole cut in it so water can filter through. And then the last one, the fifth, is a normal full bottle, but it does have this one hole that I cut in the bottom there to poke the lid of the other ones through, which that is the last one. Whether you decide to do 5, 6, 7, however many you decide to do, just adjust your numbers. All the middle ones are going to be like this one. Okay, so in order to make this number 1 bottle, it's about cut in half, you just take your first bottle and you want to cut the label off. I suppose you could leave it on there, it's personal preference. And take that off. And this has a line along here about halfway. Then I'm just going to follow along that line. So I just cut a slit with my X-Acto knife, and then I use my scissors to go around cutting it. And there you go, you have half of your water bottle. And as you can see, this has some little waves, and each one where it comes upward is where I'm slit and put my string through it. Okay, so now I'm ready to cut in these little parts where it comes up. And it's got a nice little pinch here, so I can use that to cut. I just kind of pinch it together a little bit and just snip it. And so I've got a little cut there, nice and easy. A little slit, pinch it, and snip it. Next, it's ready for string. Just keep in mind that when you're stringing the water bottle, that you either poke in through the outside on every one or poke through the inside on every one. Just make it consistent whichever way you go so that it makes these really nice loops. Oops, sorry. And it hangs really nicely once you tie them all together. So for all your middle planters that you have as the growing planters, you're going to need to cut out an area for the plant to grow out of. And for this one, I just drew the lines that I kind of did, and I kind of did follow the contoured lines of the water bottle just so it was easier and it made it look better. Just however you do it, just make sure that you do them all the same so that they look nice. After you cut it, it kind of has this look here. If you can see, it's just got that little cutout right there. And I'll show you how to make the hole in the lid to let the water go through all of the planters. Okay, so every bottle that you use is going to have a hole in it except for the bottom reservoir. So you just take the original bottle here that has that little hole on the bottom, and I literally just kind of poked little notches all the way around the center there with my X-Acto knife, which if you look on the side there you can kind of see that it's just ready to poke out of there. You just kind of pull it with your fingers. And then you have a hole like this, and I just poked my scissors right into the middle there and just kind of rotated it like that on the tip of the scissors, which gave it a more nice looking hole, which it doesn't really matter. They don't have to be the same. It's going to be covered up as long as it's, a hole and lets water through. It's personal preference. You can make them around the edge or however you want to do it, but that's just how I did it. So pretty simple. Okay, so for the number 5 bottle, or whichever number is your bottom reservoir, I just drew a little line around the bottom there, guesstimate about how big the nozzle of another bottle is to pop right down in there. And I have it set up so that, it doesn't have to be perfect, because, you do kind of want some air through there, but, people do drill these out so that they're perfectly fine and then end up having to poke holes in the side because the suction of the water moving between the chambers, it needs air to work. But I found that this is just fine. I'm not too picky, depends on the person. So later you can pop this right in there. See, and they will hang right off of each other. So I'll show you how to fill them up. However many bottles that you choose to have in your hanging bottle garden, you just need to make sure that your bottom one only has this one hole in the bottom of the bottle. It doesn't need anything cut out on the side, because again, this is going to be the one at the bottom that holds the water or catches the water after it's moved through all the other chambers that are holding your plants. Okay, so the purpose of the sponge is to kind of clean up the water as it's dripping through the chambers. You don't want a bunch of dirt falling through each of the chambers, because you need that dirt in each one of them to help your plants grow. I took just a regular sponge, brand new, I haven't used it with anything else so I don't get bacteria in my plants. Got it from the dollar store as a 2-pack for $1. So for your first one you want a little bit bigger sponge because you want it to slow the water as it goes down through the chambers. So I cut that one in about 1/8, so I have a bigger chunk. And all the ones that I have my plants in, 2, 3, 4, 5, however long you make it, I cut into about 16. So it's a smaller sponge, it holds the dirt, and it also kind of slows the water to a drip. I have also tried these Scotch-Brite, which obviously are thinner. They work. I've done both of them, and I don't think that there's any difference in my personal experience. It didn't slow the water any more with using a thicker sponge. So whatever you have, whatever your personal preference is, you can do whatever you'd like to do. Okay, so before we fill with dirt, we're going to put the sponges in. As you can see, we're going to put the first larger sponge into the first water holder. And then we're going to put the smaller sponges in all of our middle planters that are holding our plants. As you can see, it's got the cut for the plant to grow out of. And it will have the bottom cut out here in a minute. And I will show you what that looks like. Okay, the sponges are in there now, and I have the larger sponge in this one, which is going to have the water you just dumped into on the top, and it will filter down through the chambers, which will have the lid with the hole in it. And all of the middle planters will also have, the smaller sponge in there with the lid with a hole in it. And then you will fill this middle part here with dirt. And you can see, and you'll have the hole on top there to either poke the water drainer into or another planting chamber. And I have one that I filled for you guys to see. As you can see, it's got the sponge and the hole in the bottom for the water to pass through. And I filled it with the dirt and kind of packed it down in there. And okay, so we're ready for assembly. We have our first one here, the water container here with the hole on the bottom and this bigger sponge. All of our middle planters here that are ready with soil inside them, and the hole cut on the top here to connect them with the smaller sponge and the drainage hole on the bottom. And then our fifth one here, or whatever bottom one you have, is just the full water bottle with no drainage hole on the bottom and just the one hole cut at the top to fit the other top two. Okay, so now it's just as easy as snapping them all together. So I'm just going to take them and just poke this through here. Now they're locked together and they're pretty sturdy. Okay, so I just popped it together, and there is the top with the strings, and 1, 2, 3 planters, and the bottom reservoir that's going to catch all the water down at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to start at the top and see exactly how this works once I put the water in. You see it kind of filters down to this one. Sponge kind of catches it, and it filters down through that one. Sponge kind of catches it, filters through that one, and down at the end it just drops down into this chamber, which is just catching all of the excess water, which you can unhook from the bottom planter and recycle that water in the end. Obviously this goes much faster without any soil or plants in it, but that's just the gist of how it works empty. Pretty cool. So again, this is how it works with soil in the planter. This doesn't have any plants, so it's still going to move kind of quickly, but I'll show you how that works there. Add some water in there. Drops down into this planter. As it feeds through the soil, it's going to kind of drip through here. It's a pretty steady stream. It doesn't have any plants absorbing anything just yet. Goes down to the third planter there. And once that soaks up what it needs, it goes down into this reservoir. Yes, it's going to be kind of a brownish yellow color because it is going through soil. But once again, same thing, you can detach it from the bottom planter and recycle this water. Just unhook the bottle cap and dump it into the top again and recycle that water.